Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. Today, we will start a new chapter that is federalism. And under this chapter, we will know about uh, the concept of federalism. Then we will know about the constitutional provisions which has been made in our constitution for the establishment of federalism, and then we will see in practical politics what is the nature of federalism in India, how the we will consider the major issues which is involved in the relationship between the center and the state, and we will also deal the special provisions for some states which have a distinct composition and completely different historical features. So, in this regard, first of all, we will see the map of India. This is the map of India of 1947, and in this map, we can see. Just wait a moment. In this map, we can see that the outer map of India is and the inner map of India, in which various states are shown, that has become completely different in today's map. In the next page, we can see the map which is shown of the year 2017. In this map, we see that the boundaries of both the in both the maps, the boundaries of the states have changed a lot. Not only the boundaries of the states, but their names have also been changed, and their demarcation has also been changed. So the reorganization of states uh, constantly take place, and this map is never final. Again, we can see that in future, in 4 to 5 years or 10 years, it can again change. So this is the India, which is made up of various states and union territories. Now we will try to understand the concept of federalism. What do we mean by federalism? Federalism is a form of government in which there is power is not concentrated at one place. The most important thing about the federalism is that there is government at least there must be government at two different levels, one at the center level and the other at the level of the units. So first of all, we see that the government is divided into different levels, and there is distribution of power. All the powers are not concentrated at one place. All the powers are not there in the hands of the central government. The power is not centralized, but instead of centralization, there is decentralization of power, because power is distributed between different levels of government, and this distribution is done by the constitution itself. It's not that the central government has delegated some of its powers to the governments at the unit level. No, it's not like that. If the central government delegates its power to the government at the unit level, then what will happen? The governments which are at the unit level will work under the domination of the center. They will work under the control of the center, and center can anytime take away those rights also, because these rights are delegated by the center only, so it can take away these rights also. So this is not federalism. In federalism, the most important thing we see that the distribution of power is done between the center and the state through the constitution. And in this way, it is based on the principle of decentralization. It is based on the principle that the power should not be centralized at one place. Instead of centralization, there must be a distribution of power, there must be division of power. And why this division of power? What is the need to divide the power? The power is divided so that the various units from which the federation has been made, all the units uh, must have some share in power. And by this share in power, the people of the country will feel attached. They will feel themselves attached to the country, that this country belongs to them and they belong to the country. So in this way, it helps in bringing a unity and integrity in the country. Not only this, federalism is also important if we want democracy to be a real and meaningful one. Democracy cannot be real, democracy cannot be meaningful in the absence of this concept of decentralization of power. So we can say that federalism is based on the principle of decentralization of power. In this type of government, there are different levels of government, and among these different levels, power is distributed. And this distribution of power is done by the constitution. And we will see now we will see some examples that there are many examples in the world where the federation, because of internal conflict and rift, what happened that these federations broke up in many different parts. The most important example in front of us is the example of USSR. After 1989, it started to break up, and in 1991, it finally disintegrated. The USSR stopped. The USSR has been disbanded on 25th of December 1991. So there were so many reasons behind this disintegration of USSR, but one of the most important reason for this breakup was the excessive centralization. The power was centralized and the power was concentrated at one place only. Though it was a federation, it was Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, so it was a federation. Still, we find that the federation was not working. It was not working in a efficient manner, and because of this, what happened that the USSR broke up. And in this union, in this federation, we find that there was domination of Russia. Russia was holding the most dominant position, and other than Russian language, there were many languages were spoken by the people. And other than Russian, there were many cultures also existing in USSR. But what we find that in the USSR, in the erstwhile USSR, Russia was dominating in all the aspect. In the Russian language, the Russian culture were considered to be the most important, and the other languages and cultures were crushed. They were not given recognition, they were not given promotion by the central authority. So, this was the main reason one of the main reasons. There were many reasons, but one of the important reasons for the disintegration of USSR is uh, this centralization of power and domination of Russia, and crushing of the languages and culture of other people who were not Russian. In the same way, we see that there are some other countries like Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and Pakistan. These countries also face a division of the country, and the reason behind this division of the country was same, that there was lack of balancing. The government was not able to balance between the various ethnic, language, and religious group of the country. What happens in such countries? What is the problem? The problem is that the government is inclined towards a particular linguistic group or ethnic group or religious group, and because of this inclination towards that group, what happened that the other group which are also there in the country starts feeling dissatisfied, starts feeling alienation. They feel that they start feeling that they don't belong to this country. And now, when such feeling arises in the heart of the people, in the mind of the people, people start demanding that they want to be separated from this country. So, in this and when this demand takes a violent turn, then there is no other way than to accept this demand. And in this way, Pakistan, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia faced a division. And we have also one more example, Canada. Canada also, it came very close to a breakup between the English speaking and the French speaking regions of that country, because the main what we see that in a federal, in a country, why this conflict arise, this internal conflict. The main reason of the emergence of this internal conflict is the diversity, diversity of language, diversity of religion, diversity of ethnicity, uh, mm, causes dissatisfaction, because if the government is not able to balance, if the government is not able to maintain a balance among different groups, then it happens that there are many groups which start feeling that um, they need a they need their own country, because this country is no more there. They don't belong. They start feeling that the country does not belong to them. So in the similar way, Canada also faced a lot of problem, though it was there was not any kind of a breakup in Canada. Still, what we find that there were rift, there were conflict between the English speaking people and the French speaking people. So we have seen so many examples. Example of Russia, then Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and Pakistan. And Canada has also came very closer to the breakup, but it could not be broken up. So we have these examples, and we see that our country, India, became independent in 1947, and from 1947 to up to present time, the our country has remained a single unit. And in this context, we can see that this is one of the greatest achievement of our country because first of all our country is full of diversity, diversity of language, diversity of religion, diversity of culture is existing in our country. Not only this, in 1947, India got independence, but with independence, it was also divided on the basis of religion, and this partition caused a lot of violence. So many people were killed, so many um, violence took place at that time, and all these caused a lot of fear among the leaders as well as the people that India may not remain a single unit in future because there was problem of princely states also. There was a problem of integration of princely states also, and some states caused a lot of problem like Hyderabad, Junagadh, Kashmir, Manipur. So there was a fear in the mind of the people, and the whole world was having this kind of apprehension that India will soon divided into so many smaller countries. But all these were proved to be wrong. And after even after 70 years, more than 70 years of independence, India is still a single country. So now we must have to think कि what are the reasons that India, in spite of so many diversities, in spite of partition of partition on the basis of religion, in spite of all these odd circumstances, India remained a single country, a unit. India remained a unit. So, what is the reason? The reason is the federal structure of the government. But here, the most important thing, our constitution made provision for the federal structure of government. But the constitutional provisions are not sufficient for the constitutional provisions are not sufficient in order to be successful. If we are successful as a federal country, then the credit goes to the practices, the federal practices which has been adopted in our country. The credit goes to the our political leaders. The credit goes to the people as well. So the only by making provisions in the constitution is not everything, because we have seen there are so many countries which were federation like USSR. It was a federation, still it disintegrated. Why? Because the federation, the provisions of federation were there in the constitution only. The practices, federal practices, could not be evolved in that country. The power was centralized, though the structure which was provided by the constitution was federal. Still, the power was centralized. The power was concentrated at one place. So, what is important? The federal practices. So we see that what how a federal system is evolving in a country. What are the practices of federalism? These are very very important. And in our country, in the context of India, we can see that our country has evolved in a strong federal government because of its federal practices. Now we will see federalism in West Indies. So we will know about the country West Indies. West Indies was also a colonized country, and it was colonized by the British. In 1958, the Federation of West Indies came into being. After getting independence, there was made a Federation of West Indies. Okay, it was a federation, means various units came together in order to form a federation. It had a weak central government. Central government was weak, and the economy of each unit was independent. So the federation, which was came into existence in the year 1958, that federation was has a weak central government. The central government was weak. Okay, the power of distribution, which was done between the center and the state, this distribution was done in such a manner that the center was made weak and the states were made powerful. And then we see that the economy of each unit was independent. So, because of this, as the center was not powerful and all the units were economically independent, so because of this, what happened that there was the federation could not be survived for long, and in 1962 it was dissolved. Formal dissolution of the federation in 1962. Then we find that in 1973 there was a treaty was done, and this treaty was Chogarmas, and the Treaty of Chogarmas, which is a place in Trinidad, and in this through this treaty, what happened? The islands which were there, the units, they established joint authorities in the form of a common legislature, Supreme Court, and a common currency, and to a degree a common market. Okay, so now the again a new federation came into effect, and this federation has a common legislature. Okay, a common Supreme Court, a common currency, and a common market, and this market was known as Caribbean Community, and they have a common executive, and heads of the government of member countries are member of this executive. So now they were having a common executive, and who were the members of the executive? The members of the executive were the heads of the government of these units. Okay, so the units could neither live together as one country nor can they live separately. So this is a unique arrangement, unique federal arrangement. Every country adopts federalism according to its situation, according to its requirement. So, first time the when the federation was formed in West Indies, in that federation the center was made weak because the states wanted to have more rights, they wanted to have more freedom, and keeping all these things in mind, the center was made less powerful, and the economy of the units were also made independent. But because of these reasons, the federation could not be existed for anymore because center was weak and units were economically independent. तो इसमें क्या हुआ कि वो साथ नहीं रह पाए, क्योंकि साथ रहने के लिए व्हाट इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि सेंटर के पास थोड़े से पावर होनी चाहिए ज़्यादा, अगर वो बहुत ही डाइवर्स ग्रुप है तो ठीक है। तो ये साथ नहीं रह पाए, एंड देन अगेन जब फेडरेशन बना तो उसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ों का ध्यान रखा गया, जैसे कि एक कॉमन लेजिस्लेचर हो, सुप्रीम कोर्ट हो, कॉमन करेंसी हो, कॉमन मार्केट हो, ताकि लोगों को बांधा जा सके। नाउ इन द मैटर्स विच आर important, which need to be similar, which need to be uniform for the whole federation. These matters are in the hands of union, and in other matters the states have been given autonomy. So in this way, what is the structure of the federalism? The units are bounded with the center, They cannot get separated from the center, but they are also enjoying their separate status also. So this is the balance between the power of the center and the power of the states or the units. So we see um, that India is a country of huge population, and its size is also very large. And if we see it from the linguistic point of view, we can see that there are more than 20 major languages and several hundred minor ones. So, in our country, so many different languages are spoken, so many different linguistic groups are living together, and we see that our country is the home of several major religions also. Not only this, in our country, several million indigenous people are living in different parts of the country. So, all these are diversities. All these are showing that India is not consist uh, of India is not consist of people who belong to uniform language or same language or religion, but India is a country of diversity. But in spite of being so diverse, the people of India are united. And what is the factor? What are the factors which is uniting the people of India? We are united because we share a common landmass. We are united because we have a common history, and the history of freedom struggle of India is very important in this regard, because we see that in India the feeling of nationalism arose only because of the exploitative nature of the British rule. And during this colonial rule, whatever ill treatment, whatever exploitation, whatever atrocities was done by the British ruler, by the British government, that was responsible for generating a feeling of oneness among the people of India. And it also created a feeling of it also generated a feeling of nationalism. So it was the feeling of nationalism that people from all different background, people from different classes, people from different caste, from different religious group, from different linguistic group, became one to fight against the to fight against the exploitative rule of the British. So all this led to the freedom of India, and then our constitution has been adopted. It was in such a way that India is a country where exist unity in diversity. We are united in spite of being diverse. We are diverse. There is diversity. There is diversity of language, diversity of religion, diversity of culture, but still we are one. So, unity in diversity is the best phrase which can explain the character of India, the nature of India. And you must be knowing that this phrase, unity in diversity, was first coined by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in his book Discovery of India. And now we will see that sometimes this unity in diversity is also described as unity with diversity. It means कि we are not suppressing the diversity. We are encouraging the diversity, we are promoting the diversity, we are giving recognition to the diversity, and all these diversities are not proving an obstruction in the path of unity. Balki we can say that it has not become an obstruction, but it has strengthened the unity of the country. Because when different groups are living in a country and the uh, country is giving equal treatment to all the religious group, to all the linguistic groups, to all the cultural groups of the country, then what happens that all the people who are belonging to these different groups starts feeling that the country is there, the country is belongs to them, and in this way they start giving their contribution in bringing unity for the country. So this is very much important. Now we will see that federalism is not only that it is a set of fixed principles which are applied to different historical situation. It's not that federalism, we cannot bind the principle of federalism in uh, fixed rules. It's not that if we have federation, then these rules must be followed. And if these rules will be followed, then it will be a successful federalism. No, it's not like that. That the historical situation is different from one country to another country. And because of this historical situation, what happens that the nature of federalism is also different. So it has evolved differently in different situations. We cannot say that the federalism which is in India and the federalism which is in America are both are same. No, they are not same, they are different. Why they are different? Because the historical situation in which they emerged was different. In America, there was different situation was there. In India, there was different situation there. So we can see that there is no fixed principle. Still, there are something which must be common, which must be there in every federal government, and these principles need to be known. Because what are the principles which must be there commonly in all the federal structure? So we will discuss about this common feature in the next class.